All right, guys. So the dumbest problem I've been having, and probably will have had for the longest time yet, is that I wasn't passing through the change of these materials to the actual objects. So every time I was making all these changes, and especially last week when I think it was last week where I totally screwed it up, couldn't figure it out at all. Turns out the issue was that seemingly, when you apply your materials from Maxwell to the Rhino layer, it does not pass it through. That's it. That's the whole problem. Yeah. So, anyway, what you gotta do, and I swear there's a way to pass it through, because I believe I've been doing it my whole life, but it's been so long that I don't recall exactly how to do this stuff, is the select the layer method. So, for instance, when I wanted to switch the emitters for this particular surface here, right? So if I want to use the emitter spot 8 instead of the emitter spot 8-inch B, I have to go to the can lights, say select objects, and then right click on this and say assign to selected. Then when I go to render, it should render the other lights, which are going to look a little different. So these ones are the Omni Lights, which are going to be much softer. They shine in all directions. And then I've got the spotlights as well. So I've got way too many going, but that would be these that you're used to. You can't really see much of it up there, but you can see it in the preview, right? You're used to those by now. But as soon as I flipped it onto the spotlight lighting family, two things happened. I have a more natural spread of light throughout the space, which is what I was going for. But I don't see the actual light source. Okay, so that's a very distinct difference that you guys need to learn how to work with. So I believe you can actually just pop another disk in there right behind the light source disk, because if you look very closely, well, okay, well, you can't get up there. But it actually just makes that disk invisible. So you can pop another disk in there right behind that disk, and it should just render perfectly fine if you put one of your Omni Lights in there at a very low level. Okay, so that's how we're going to start getting more realistic lighting. One thing that I do want to point out on it, though, and this is, so far I've been throwing myself curveballs all over the place. So let's test this real quick, because I'm under the impression that with a spotlight family, your geometry will not actually shine angularly on a wall. So let's do a quick little test just to make sure whether or not it's shining on the wall or shining straight down. So let's go to render. Now I feel like I'm going to have to test myself on everything. Let's give this a sec. I've got too many open. Oh, it did. Huh, look at that. I'm wrong again. So, man, it's not been that long since I've used this. But anyway, one thing I want to point out, and this one I actually know I am right about, is that the backside of light sources are always going to be blacked out. Okay, so you can't really put a light source like this in a space like that and just have it shine and then just let it be there as a nothing light. So you've got to make sure that you create like a housing for all of your light fixture families, or else you're going to get these really weird issues with the rendering itself. Okay. All right. What questions do you have? Besides, where the hell did you learn this software? Yeah.
So you can make a cone of back of the lights and then you cover it?
Yeah, you can make a cone. So I think, I got some crashes going on. I'm trying to think of a good example, but like a wall sconce, for instance. Wall art sconce, maybe? Well, alright, these are terrible examples. Just call it a wall art light. that stuff I was showing you before, just any sort of light housing is going to do that. So something like that, for instance. Well, you'd have to look down on it actually in reality. These, okay? If you tried to render that lighting condition where there's light shining on these pieces of art and you didn't have a housing there, right, you would see these black discs in there, because if you're looking at the back side of a light source, you can't, you see it. Okay, that was interesting. So anyway, these are the tools that you have at your disposal. I would suggest, one more thing I wanted to troubleshoot here with this. So yes, this light as an Omni is shining the direction of the wall, okay? But we also need to test to make sure that the light as a emitter spotlight will do that. So I'm going to select all these objects. Oh, that's right, I can't do that. Assign to selected, and let's test this one. So this one is the actual spotlight, not the Omni light. Give it a minute, we'll confirm. Okay, so yeah, this is what I was talking about. If you switch it to an actual spotlight family, it won't shine the direction of the wall. Okay, so these spotlights, if you put them in regular geometry, are always going to shine down. Does that make sense? Or I shouldn't say the spotlight family. If you make it as an actual spotlight in the Maxwell rendering material. Okay, so that's a restriction, so to speak. Okay? All right, let me stop my thoughts on this, and then we'll move forward on to more stuff.